So, third day of warm-ups. So you should have your third objective and your third warm-up written down here. These are just like what we did yesterday, okay? So what are my order of operations? What do I always start with? Parentheses, because we're talking about PEMDAS, okay? So parentheses, I'm not going to do 5 plus 7 first, okay? I'm going to distribute the 7 into the parentheses. 7 times 2 and 7 times negative x. So what's 7 times 2?
14.
14, all right. And then, now, when it's negative x, it's negative what?
7x.
You're ahead of me. But yeah, but just negative x by itself is negative 1x, right? Like there's a implied 1 here. So when you do multiply 7 times negative 1, you get negative 7x. Very good. All right. And then bring down the 5 plus here because you still have it. Now, when you're doing the next step, you're combining like terms. Remember, start with the variable, which is x. I only have one x there, right? What is in front of that x? Negative 7x, okay? Please don't forget the negative sign when you bring it down. Negative 7x. And then your constants, the regular numbers, 5 plus 14 gives me what? 19. And since it's positive, I make sure I put the plus sign, plus 19. Okay? That's it. Okay, we have combined all the like terms after we distributed. And number 2 is a little tricky because you have 2 parentheses to PEMDAS, to parentheses, distribute, right? Right? So let's distribute. The first one is 3 times x and 3 times 2. What's 3 times x? Anytime you have a number times a letter, stick them next to each other. So yeah, 3 times x is 3x. And then what about 3 times 2? 6. Positive means plus 6. Now, the next set of parentheses, there's a negative in front. That means negative something. What? What is it? Yeah, what goes right here, and it's negative 1, right? So let's distribute the negative 1. Negative 1 times 5 is what? Negative 5. Always, if you're not sure, check it with the calculator, right? What about negative 1 times 6x? Okay, good. So negative 1 times negative 6, a negative times a negative is a positive 6x, right? All right. Now, combine like terms. Let's start with our variables. What are my x's that I can combine? 3x, and then plus 6x. What do I get? 3 plus 6 gives me 9x. And I have a positive 6 and a minus 5 constant. What's 6 minus 5? 1. So it's plus 1. Now, we've had plenty of examples of this over the last couple days. That's my reminder to record. I'm already recording, so look at that. I'm automated. Now, what we're going to spend the next 10 minutes doing is I want to make sure I give you all a little bit extra time to finish the assignments from Monday, Tuesday. So Monday was combining like terms color by number, the one that has like the colors on the back that you don't have to do. And then yesterday, Tuesday, was practice distributive property, both sides. I'm going to give you 10 minutes, a little extra time to knock that out, turn it in at the turn-in bin, and then we're going to do notes, the notes you grabbed in on the way in. All right, so everybody look at this sheet. This is very important because a lot of Algebra 1 is solving equations. This is the most basic solving equations we have, okay? I need everyone to focus. Focus. Don't make noises. Okay, so we're doing one-step equations. Ready? So, a solution of an equation. Now, let's pause there. What's an equation? The last couple days, we've been working with expressions. Expressions do not have equal signs. But today, we're going to start with the equal signs, okay? So an equation has an equal sign, and the solution makes it true, okay? Now, there's one way to find the solution of an equation, and it's to get the variable alone on one side of the equal sign. Can you underline that for me? Get the variable alone on one side of the equal sign. Okay.
You're going to spend algebra, geometry, algebra 2 trying to do that. This will never go away.
Okay, you can do this using inverse properties. Go ahead and underline that. Inverse properties. It's a fancy way of saying opposites. Okay. So let's see what y'all know about opposites. So there are 4 operations. One of them is adding. What is the opposite of adding? Subtracting. Very good. And then what about backwards? What's the opposite of subtracting? Adding. It goes back and forth. Opposite of adding is subtracting. The opposite of subtracting is adding. And the same thing goes for signs. The opposite of positive is negative. The opposite of negative is positive. Cool. So I put that at the top there. You can draw that, right? And then what about multiplying? What's the opposite of multiplying? Division, okay? And what's the opposite of division? Multiplying. Those are your 4 basic operations.
That's half of it right there. Just that.
And so when we're solving, we're going to do the inverse operations, inverse properties, which just basically means do the opposite. Okay. Now, important, when you're first solving equations, the solution may be obvious. You might be like, duh, but stick with it. Do the steps, because once we start adding more than one step, okay, you got to follow the progression. Okay. Now, let's solve these using the inverse property of addition to isolate the variable. So isolate the variable means we need to get the variable, the letter, by itself on one side. So here's example 1. C plus 3 equals negative 14. What's the variable here? C. That's the letter, right? Is it by itself? There's a plus 3 next to it. So we want the plus 3 to go bye-bye. And how do we make that happen? Well, we're going to do the opposite. What's the opposite of plus 3? Minus 3. So right below it, you'd write a minus 3. And if you do it on one side of an equation, you have to do it on the other side of an equation. Because what does it mean to be equal? Both sides get it. Both sides have the same. So again, it stays equal when you do it on both sides. Now, here's what I want you to draw on this. If you have a plus 3 and a minus 3, anybody ever play the Fruit Ninja game? Okay, you're going to Fruit Ninja those opposites. Okay, plus 3, minus 3, give it a slash. Okay, goodbye. They cancel out. And now you can just bring down that C, bring down that equals. And what's negative 14 minus 3? Negative 17. You're just doing negative 14 minus 3. So now example 2. What if, by the way, what's my variable here? G. What's next to G that's got to go away? The minus 5. So what's the opposite of minus 5? Plus 5. Again, if you do it on one side, do it on the other side. And those opposites I want to get rid of. They cancel out. I like to slash them out here. Goodbye. See you later. You can do that right now. Okay. Slash those out. And then bring down G equals. We get 11 plus 5. So we get 16. Okay. And that's a good one-step equation. G equals a number. That's a solution.
And then you can even put the answer back in to see if it works. 16, put it there. 16 minus 5 equals 11.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I should say that you can definitely check your work by plugging your answer back into the original equation, and it should check out and be true. Now, let's try it down here. Letter A. What's the variable? F. Is F by itself? No, it's got a little plus 5 hanging out there. So I want to think of the inverse property, the inverse operation. What's the opposite of plus 5? Negative or minus 5. So underneath it, I'm going to put minus 5. If I do it on one side of the equation, I got to do it on the other side of the equation. So underneath the 9, I put a minus 5. And then we can slash the opposites because they cancel out. I can bring down F. I can bring down equals. And what is 9 minus 5? 4. Positive 4. So F equals 4. If I replug it back in, 4 plus 5 is 9. That's true. So can you do a single step equation? What about B? What do I need to do first here?
Positive 10.
Okay. I
Right below the negative.
I see a minus 10 that's got to go away. So the opposite is plus 10 on both sides. Keeps it equal. H equals, and what's 2 plus 10? 12. All right, I'm going to give you 1 minute to try letter C and letter D. See how smart you are. It's a little bit tricky, but you can do it. All right, go. Same stuff. Finish those two. And no headphones. What? Has it been a minute? I don't even know. All right, it's been about a minute. Let's see what y'all got. Okay. Letter C, what's the variable? T. Letter T, right? What's on the side of T that I need to get rid of?
Positive 2.
Okay, 2. Now, how do I get rid of a positive 2?
Put a negative.
So again, T needs to be by itself. 2 needs to go away. It's positive, so I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides. All right. The 2 and the minus 2, goodbye. Bring down T equals, and what's 8 minus 2? 8 minus 2 does give me 6. What's weird about letter D here?
It's backwards.
Okay, the U, the variable, is on the right side, but that's okay. You could still do that. If my variable is U, what is on the side of U that I need to get rid of?
Negative 6.
That minus sign, or the negative 6, either way. So the opposite is positive, or plus 6, plus 6. Cancel that out. Bring down U, and then 7 plus 6 is
13.
So this says 13 equals U. Now normally we see it as U equals 13, so you can flip it at the end if you want, but in the end I'm fine with 13 equals U. All right. Now flip it over. Let's talk about the other two operations, multiplying and dividing. And then you will be officially pros at doing one-step equations, right? Now, to solve using the inverse property of multiplication, example 3. Now, it says 5b equals 30. Let's zoom in. What's happening between 5 and b right here? What operation? Okay, multiplication. Did y'all know that? A 5 and a b together means they're being multiplied 5 times b. Okay, so if it helps you, you can draw a little dot there, like, hey, that's 5 times b. Okay, so now you tell me, if you know it's multiplying by 5, how can I remove that 5? What do I need to do? The opposite of multiply, divide. So that's why you can see below here, they divided by 5 on both sides. Divide by 5 on the left, divide by 5 on the right. And just like last time, these opposites, you want to scratch them out. Okay, so you can do that right now. The 5s cancel out. And we're left with b. And then 30 divided by 5 does give me 6, right? Bless you. Now, what about if the variable is being divided, so like this one, r divided by 4? I want you to think the exact same way. How do I get rid of a divided by 4? What's the opposite of dividing? Multiply. So look what they did. Off to the side, they put a times 4 to get rid of a divided by 4. And they put the same times 4 on the other side. So these two 4s are going to cancel out, the times 4 and the divided by 4. And what's left is r equals 11 times 4 is 44. Cool. Now, stay with me. This is the trickiest one. What if there's a fraction, okay? So, 3 over 4 is in front of k. I know I have to do the opposite, but like, what's an opposite of a fraction? So let me tell you. Not exactly. The inverse of a fraction is what we call the reciprocal. Can y'all write this down for me? Reciprocal. Which means all you do is flip it.
Whatever's on the bottom will then be on the top. Whatever's on the top will be on the bottom.
So the 3 over 4, flip it over, gives me 4 over 3. Okay? So again, 3 over 4 gives me 4 over 3. When I flip it, and now I multiply that. So times 4 over 3 on the left, times 4 over 3 on the right. It's always both sides, right? Now, on that left, those 4's cancel, and those 3's cancel. You can scratch those out. That's why we did it, so it would go away, right? And now I'm just left with k, and then I got to think, what's 9 times 4 over 3? I showed you how to get that in the calculator to put in a fraction, but if you multiply them, you should get 12. So, let's try it. Letter A. I'm solving for what variable here? The variable is v. What do I got to get rid of next to it? 7, which is being multiplied, right? 7v means 7 times v. How do I get rid of that? Good. So if it's being multiplied, the opposite is to divide. So anytime you have a coefficient, you got to divide on both sides. Those 7's cancel out, and I bring down my v, I bring down my equals. What's 21 divided by 7? 3. Now, letter B. This one tricks people up, so don't get tricked, right? Negative 25p equals 100. What do y'all think we should do? What about negative 25? Oh yeah, so negative 25 has to go away. How? Divide plus which one? All right, so I get it. You see that minus sign, you think I got to add. But please remember, this is a coefficient. It's right in front of this, and what's happening right here between them? They're being multiplied, so we're going to have to divide. So even if it's a negative coefficient, you have to divide by that number. So we're dividing by what? 25. Negative 25. If I do it on one side, I'm going to do it on the other side. So those negative 25s cancel out. P equals, and if you're not sure, calculate your bud. But what's 100 divided by negative 25? 4. Negative 4? Is it negative? Is it positive? Negative 4? Negative 4, because when you have one negative, it stays there, it's negative. Cool. When you're dividing. All right, C. C's kind of similar. What do I do on C? You divide negative 14. Okay, negative 14 is still a coefficient in front of the W, so you must divide both sides. So divide by negative 14, divide by negative 14. Cancels out here. I already did it over here. What's 252 divided by negative 14? Negative 18. Solid. Last one. Please remind me, because I forgot. No kidding. But how do I get rid of a fraction? I multiply by the reciprocal, the flip. So flip 2 over 3, what do I get? Put 3 over 2 on both sides. 3 over 2 times, and then times 3 over 2. The original coefficient and the reciprocal cancel out. The 3's and the 2's go bye-bye. And now what's 8 times 3 over 2? Calculator, you can do it, and you get 12. Okay. All right. So, those are your notes. You are now equipped to do one-step equations. Okay. Now, we're going to do that practice tomorrow. I want to give you the last 10 minutes to make sure you finish both of these assignments from Monday, Tuesday, okay? Because if not, it's going to be late. Off 20 points automatically, okay? So let's go.